Story. Let's see. Should we begin with a story, and then we can talk about that? So you guys get to decide. I'm not going to be dictatorial or directorial even, and you guys get to decide who is going to begin, and we'll spread them out through the entire show.
I'll dive in here.
Okay.
This
Phillip. You
yes,
are Phillip. Okay.
That is me. I am Phillip Lowe. That I think the reason I was being nudged. This piece is actually it is the inaugural Rockstar piece. This was the first piece performed at the first Rockstar show that I dusted the mothballs off of.
The cosmic beginning. All right.
When I was a teenager, while most of my community theater friends were out leading lives of hedonism about which I could only feverishly imagine, I was toiling away in the darkened recesses of Our Lady of Lourdes Catholic High School. A few extra holidays seemed small recompense for daily contending with a veritable army of belligerent nuns. The fact that we attended didn't make us pious. We regularly skipped Mass to play X-Men or Revenge from Mars at the local machine shed. Not that I think they really wanted us there anyway. My best friend at the time was a devout atheist who regularly brought a battered copy of the Satanic Bible to our assigned reading periods. Our teachers and clergy did have my empathy, however, since they were the self-appointed frontline soldiers in a desperate battle to terrify us into chastity. Trying to keep teenagers from copulating is something akin to trying to teach snakes to walk upright. Basic physiology and the reptile brain render the task impossible. However, it was in my health class that they unveiled the latest weapon in their arsenal, a $300 robotic doll, the bilious bionic baby Think-It-Over. I am not making this up. Programmed to register any shock, mistreatment, or neglect, it would release a throaty, nightmarish, unearthly sobbing, which I can only imagine they obtained by dumping an infant down a well and recording it. The only way to get it to calm down was to jam a plastic key into its back, one which was, of course, firmly attached to our wrists for the duration of the exercise. Now, I had no intention of wasting my valuable time with this nonsense. I was a busy kid, and I had stuff to do. My plan was to name the robot Paisley and bury it beneath a pile of blankets in our basement where it could scream for help all it wanted, but help would never come. I'd then dig him out a few weeks later, hand him in, write a paper explaining that I'd learned a valuable lesson, and thereby coast through the class with a C average. The first couple of days went by without a hitch, with the notable exception that I would frequently come home from rehearsals at night to find my older sister wandering up and down the halls, cradling Paisley in her arms, rocking him, singing to him with a dead, haunted expression in her eyes. No, the tragic flaw in my plan came when my friend Kent and I decided to take the babies to church because, we thought it would be funny. On the way there, being of a scientific inclination, I decided to try to figure out how my baby worked. After a few minutes of experimentation, I found that I was able to wrench a box of circuitry out of his back, carelessly tossing aside his empty, useless husk of a body. Then, when we were getting out of the car, I tripped. They say when something really bad is about to happen, everything moves in slow motion? That's false. This happened fast. The box flew out of my hand, arced through the air, and slammed into the pavement, bursting apart into a $300 collection of shards of plastic and circuitry. A cut to later that evening. We rushed my child to my friend Bill's house, called up every geek friend we knew, and what followed was a cross between the Boris Karloff version of Frankenstein and an episode of MacGyver. The pieces of Paisley were laid out on a white table alongside paper clips, duct tape, car keys, and whatever bits of wire and string we could scrounge up. It actually was a dark and stormy night, lightning lancing through the sky, briefly illuminating 4 pasty geeks and their unholy infant autopsy. Now, the surgery was a fairly casual one. In between rounds of eating Doritos and playing Turok Dinosaur Hunter, we'd wander over and poke at my son with bits of metal. Every now and again, he'd show bursts of life, offering feeble, gasping, metallic cries before lapsing again into a horrible silence. I began wondering if I timed it right, if there wasn't some way that I could hand the sucker into Mr. Thompson so that he thought he did it. This plan was doomed to failure. In the paper I had to write explaining why I'd murdered my child, the basic thrust of my argument was that the function of the exercise was not to take care of the baby, but to learn that I wouldn't be able to. The only way I could truly have failed would be if I'd succeeded, thereby rendering the entire exercise intellectually bankrupt. Thanks.
I don't know that.
And
Are we done on the show
now?
now?
That's the least weird of Phil's stories, too. That's the funny thing.
We thought we'd start with the lightest, friendliest of our stories.
Okay. So they're going to get darker.
Yes.
Oh boy.
That's weird. Mine's about a vivisected baby as well. No, it's actually not. Yeah.
Fine.
Well, weird. Weird.